Hey everybody, Mandus Bulka here with Maximum Muscle Report. We're at the 2020 Mr. Olympia here in Orlando, just wrapped up, alongside my co-host, Stanimal. Stan, glad to have you on board.
Yeah, thanks, man. It was a great weekend, so we have a lot to talk about. Wow, it's a lot of new champions this weekend.
This is the most changing of the guards that we've ever seen at this year's Olympia.
Yeah, back-to-back new Mr. Olympia champs, 2 years in a row. The return of Phil Heath, a change of a fitness champion, a new women's physique champion, new men's physique champion, new
bikini champion.
Yeah, except classic physique and figure, everything else is different. So
right.
It's been amazing to watch, and yeah, everybody brought it. It was a very difficult year, and man, people really brought it to the stage this year. It was a very exciting show to watch, and I had a blast.
You know, first and foremost, hats off to Jake Wood, Dan Solomon, Tim Gardner, the whole crew, to be able to move this event of this magnitude in less than 6 weeks, clear across the country, and to still pull this thing off was amazing in itself. You were here firsthand to see from A to Z. There was no difference.
No, I mean, there was difference, but in a good way. I mean, I was really hoping they would make a stage that was really, deserving of the top athletes in the world. And, man, I thought maybe since they had to move it so fast toward the end, across the country, I thought maybe, it wouldn't be as good of a stage. But, no, that stage was the best stage I've ever seen for the Olympia. Huge stage, beautiful screens. They even, really made, a whole production. They had videos going on. It was very, very entertaining, and that's the first year with the new owner, so I'm excited to see the next one. It's just going to get better and better from now. So.
Absolutely, absolutely. And now on to the athletes. Lots of changes, like you mentioned. Let's start with men's physique. Yeah. There's no surprise. We've done a show, and we thought that Brandon Hendrickson was going to come in here and regain his title. He handled his business, and he did just that.
Yeah, Brandon was really on point. It was no surprise for us because we saw him prepping. We prepped with him almost the entire prep, so we knew what he was bringing. He brought up his back. His conditioning was on points, and he reclaimed his title. And the thing we didn't see coming is Karen. He really nailed it actually at the end. His coach knew what to do with him. We thought he was going to be a little softer, but he was really great. He got third, very deserving third place. The one that slipped was Andre Ferguson, who got I think 6. He was out of the top 5.
Correct.
But no, great top 5. We had Andre Deyu, who got 5th. I put it in 4th, but really great Olympia debut for him.
Only his second show, I believe, as well, right? Olympia debut and only his second show. Wow.
That's his second pro show. Yeah. So he had no expectation. I just talked to him. He said, he was like, I was happy with anything, just being there, and he's here in the top 5. So. It was a great show with men's physique.
And the champ, Raymond Edmonds, brought it again. Yep. He really is a pro's pro. You never see him off for the last 3 years consistently, every single show. So hats off to him for doing his job once again. It was just another man, a better man won tonight.
Yeah, no, absolutely. There was no easy win. It was everybody brought it. The top 5 was a tough top 5, and it was really great competition overall.
Absolutely. We move on to the next division where it was classic physique. We did see Bumstead regain the title. There was, of course, talk, no, it was going to be Breon, it was going to be Bumstead. We thought Bumstead would retain his title.
Yeah.
The surprise was second and third. What did you see there?
Well, prejudging, I had Breon solidly in second because Chris, once he showed up on stage, everybody just saw the improvement from the front. And once he turned from the back, it was just game over. He made so much progress this year. He brought his conditioning with the added size. It was just very impressive. And knowing he won last year when not at his best, there was no way he's not going to walk away with this title. I had Breon in second during the prejudging. I thought he was solid second. But the interesting thing is, once they put Terrence next to Breon during the finals, you could see that actually, Terrence really brought up his back, and he was hanging really well next to Breon, and his hamstrings glute tie-ins were actually tighter than Breon. And that's when I thought, he might just get ahead of Breon. But I didn't think they would bring Brian down another spot, but yeah, they actually did. They did the right thing. So, thank you.
Yeah, people don't pay very much attention. It's very interesting because Diesel is not one of the bigger competitors in that classic physique stage, but he's so well put together and his physique flows so well. It's very different from a Bumstead, who is a very big stature and continues to add mass and structure. That's one of the biggest differences in this division than bodybuilding.
Yeah, no, definitely. That's the thing with the weight, height-weight ratio limits. But once again, like Terrence really compares really well next to Brian. So that was just a good comparison for him, and he just knocked the champ, the two-time champ down and got his spot in second. That was surprising, but that was well done and well judged, I believe.
Absolutely. And yesterday, the moment of the night had to be in the 212 division. When we heard the crowning of a new champ, you could feel the raw emotion from Sean when he won. It just spread throughout the crowd. I think every single person who saw his reaction was moved. It was really something to see.
Oh yeah, it was completely genuine. It was really from the heart. Everybody, he was the sensation of the show. Like after prejudging, everybody was talking about him, how much improvement he made. Kind of like Chris Bumstead, he was just dramatic improvement, and he just brought a completely polished physique. Like his conditioning was spot on, even with the added size. His tanning was perfect. His even oil, everything was just he looked like he had an armor on stage. He was just so round, full. Yeah. Like he reminded me of like Flex Wheeler, and a smaller version of him, but like very much reminiscing of Flex Wheeler to me.
And he needed every single bit of that because Kamal was even better than he was last year, and Kamal would have won that 99 out of 100 other times, but because we saw this superimposed version of Sean Clarita, that was what enabled him to win. Another surprise, somebody that we've been talking about for the last few years, who was one of the favorites coming in, Derek Lunsford, slid down to fourth.
Yeah, we both had him in first. We thought, after last year, everybody had him coming in first, and he didn't quite nail it and let Kamal take that title away because he was, nail his perfect conditioning with his muscle maturity. So we thought, Derek would fix it this year and, come in first place. But something went wrong. I'm not sure what. Maybe he went too flat. I'm not quite sure. I don't know him, his physique very well. But he just didn't show like the potential he truly has on stage, and he got forced. George Peterson, who gets third after moving up in division, he keeps that third place. It seems like this is his place.
Well, the fact that he finished third after last year only being in Classic is a testament to his work ethic, his consistency, and the continuity that him and Justin Miller have together. They're one of the few coach-athlete combinations who've been together for a long period of time, because we've seen a couple of coach-athlete combinations this year in multiple divisions end their relationships after a long streak. Justin and George still together. George continues to improve. Nobody saw this coming except for them, maybe.
I mean, we also had him in third or fourth, I believe. We were waiting to see how he compared to the bigger guys, and he compared really well. And I think he can still have some more size. He brought his conditioning the same as he did in Classic, but way bigger, way improved.
So does this maybe mean that the 212 are going to see a little more height coming into the class? Because traditionally, the 212 division has really been the short man's division. George is able to pull it off because of his genetics and his structure. Might we see a few others follow in his footsteps?
Maybe, yeah. It was a very interesting show. Like nothing, usually it happens sometimes that the 212 division is not as exciting, but it's been, especially after Flex Lewis retired, we were kind of like feeling like something was missing, but like, wow, this year was a great show.
Absolutely. And now what they've all been waiting for. Not that you weren't waiting for what we just gave you, but it is the top of the food chain. It is what people come here for.
Mr. Olympia.
Mr. Olympia.
The real Mr. Olympia, they say. So all the other one is supposed to call the Olympia champion, but, the Mr. Olympia is the bodybuilding champion, open bodybuilding champion.
Now, this thing was hyped up and hyped up and hyped up, and it absolutely met up to the hype, and I believe it surpassed it. I believe this was one of the most exciting and competitive Mr. Olympias we've seen in a long time, because it could have went several different ways.
Yeah, usually, there's a clear winner after prejudging. It was really undecided after prejudging. I think, I had Curry still remaining champ personally after prejudging, but I thought, he's the champ, and he brought his best package ever. So I thought just for that he would be, hard to knock down. But then, Ramy got even tighter for finals. And with the size he has, everybody was talking about him for years. If he brought the conditioning with the size he had, it was somebody that you couldn't really beat. So he finally delivered, and he's the new champ.
It's very interesting because just like athletes, there's conversations about coaches. Mm-hmm. Last year we had done the Mount Rushmore of coaches, and we had Chris Acino on there and Hani Rabad. And somebody that a lot of people who are currently in the bodybuilding industry, if they're new, don't know very much about.
That's true.
The rest of us know. One Mr. Chad Nichols.
Yes.
And if you were around back in the day, there was only one guru, and that was Mr. Chad Nichols.
Yeah, in the 90s. in the 90s, it was Mr. Chad Nichols.
And nobody else.
Nobody else.
And, Chad does many other things. He hasn't been around as much. He hasn't been really coaching that many people. And he brought the mass monster back. For those of you who don't know, Chad Nichols is who coached Ronnie Coleman for all those years. Mm-hmm. So he's known to be able to handle these big mass monsters. We finally saw Big Ramy nail all the potential that he had. Tell us a little bit about what we were looking at.
Well, I believe, Big Ramy is probably hypersensitive to carbs, and he has so much muscle, and so they probably just were like, him flat is still looks full for most people, and wow, he was just so much bigger than anyone else. I think Phil came downsized this year. I think this 2 years break, he didn't train the whole time. He didn't pop the way he used to. His conditioning was not as good as he was. He just looked smaller. His arms overpowering his physique. His shoulders were not as big either. So he lost some of that width also. And his midsection was his abs are unfortunately because of his surgery not showing, not apparent at all. So once you have him, and Curry brought his best ever.
Yes.
We talked about his leg separation usually being an issue. He brought really good separation in his legs. But, when you have Big Ramy, those monster quads next to them, to him, it's just really hard to handle. And, it's a muscle show. So Big Ramy brought the conditioning with the size, hard to beat.
And then, of course, we'd be remiss to not mention the Hadi looked fantastic. A lot of people were surprised when he was called fourth, but I think that's probably where he belongs.
I mean, Hadi, to me, I used to feel like he was a little blocky, but I thought he looked incredible this year. His control of his midsection was just amazing. He even did the vacuum on a few poses. He looked very, very aesthetic to me this year. He really transformed his physique for the best. Maybe not having the weight limit allowed him to be rounder and look less blocky. That's something I believe in. So I think open for him is really where he belongs, and he might get a few spots up. I mean, to me it was close between him and even Phil. I thought he was, because Hadi knows how to bring the conditioning. He was so sharp.
Absolutely.
So that's always with the muscle he has. It's always hard to beat when you have such a great conditioning.
And we see usually that 5, 6, 7, 8 spot usually is for either veteran athletes that are on their way moving down and young athletes transitioning moving up. And I think that's kind of what we saw here this weekend.
Yeah, I'm so happy for Hakeem Williams who finally got some recognition. He looked, he's also a mass monster. He's got all the size in the world, and he's conditioning. I thought, he's been nailing it for a while now, the last couple of years. But on that stage with his sliding, it really just showed.
Yeah.
And he got fifth place, which he was very deserving.
William the Conqueror got fifth.
Oh, he got. Oh,
Six.
sorry, he got six.
Yeah.
So it was great to see him that high, and Bonak looked incredible too. I thought, we talked about it in the predictions. I thought he was on his way out. That's what I heard, and we didn't see much of him, so I was kind of counting him out. But when he stepped on stage, he was the first one to get on stage. He really impressed me. I wouldn't be surprised if he's placed a little higher too.
And then, of course, we saw the man, the myth, the legend, arguably the greatest bodybuilder of all time, for the last time on the Olympia stage. What a moment. We all know Dexter. We all have stories about Dexter. Dexter's been around longer than anybody.
4 decades.
Yeah. And to be able to have that event here, in his home state, his friends, his family on stage, that was just really something to see.
Yeah, it was very emotional to see him. After what happened at the Honor Classic, it was to be expected. But that was great to be part of this moment and just say one of the greatest of all time just retire and share this moment with him in the crowd. That was just very, very emotional.
Absolutely. What an amazing Olympia weekend we've had here. Lots of changes, which means lots of changes to come. Because what happens for the following season, you look at who won the Olympia in each division, and that's the trend you tend to follow.
Yeah.
Until next time, guys, on behalf of my partner, Stanimal, Mandus Buckle, Maximum Muscle Report, this is a wrap-up of the 2020 Mr. Olympia here in Orlando. We'll see you on the stages.